Hello and welcome to the show. My name is David Lincoln, and I'm glad that you showed up here. A lot to talk about today due to the fact that, Proshares hosed us. First of all, all right, technical difficulties aside, welcome and thanks for watching. I will be responding to chat on the edge here if anyone wants to say anything. So I got, I think it was Jake sent me something. It was about 9 o'clock last night. We got this ProShares little statement, which I'll put up here. I'm sure most people have already seen this. But basically, let's take a look at it here. ProShares management plans to reduce target exposure on 2 ETFs. Now, someone made a goofy one of these. The title was like, ProShares plans to screw everybody who's long premium. But basically, that's what happened is anybody who owns options got screwed here. So what does this actually say? Well, before, UVXY was a 2 times short, was a 2 times long leverage volatility VIX ETF, which tried to follow 2 times the performance of the S&P 500 VIX short-term futures index 30 days out. SVXY was an inverse ETF, which basically went up when the VIX went down. Probably if you're watching this, you already know that. But the change was that SVXY went from 1 times leverage to 0.5 times leverage, and UVXY went from 2 times leverage to 1.5 times leverage. And they gave no warning. This is supposed to happen by the close of business February 27th, which is today. So 24 hours warning. Now, there is a counter argument to that gave no warning thing, which is basically like, well, even if they'd said, like, we're going to do this in a week, option vol probably would have still got crushed because either way, when you have something that can move 2 times as much versus is moving 1.5 times as much, the chance of out of the money options expiring in the money goes down because there's less leverage, of course. So, which is the same thing as volatility going down. So, so as soon as this notice came out last night, we were there ready to expect vol to get crushed. So you want to look at the Vega number on your sheets and see how much Vega is the dollars made or lost for a 1-point move in volatility. So if you're long 100 Vega and volatility gets crushed by 10 points, then you're going to lose 10 times 100. Now, just for quickie options recap for those of you who probably already know this, but the farther out an option is, the more Vega is involved with that option. So when volatility gets crushed in a situation like this, it's the farther out options that have the biggest Vega attached to them. And so if you have a position in, say, I don't know, the leaps or, like April versus March, April is going to get hurt more than March. And we saw some premiums come way in. I'm going to load my screen up here, my Thinkorswim screen, and I'm going to try to do it in a sneaky way so that you can't see my P&L because I didn't think I turned it off. But anyway, so this is all happening right before this testimony before Congress of the new Fed. And I have a sneaking suspicion that these guys got really nervous that something was going to come up in this congressional testimony by the Fed that had to do with volatility. And these guys were trying to, like, you know, get their ducks in a row before that happened. And that's my suspicion with this stuff. But oh, all right. So my P&L is not showing, so that's good. So I just want to illustrate what happened to vol getting schmundered here because it really did. So let's take a look, for example, at some options real quick. Get rid of me for a second. All right. So let's take a look. Actually, I guess I can stay on there. I'm not blocking the options screen. All right. So UVXY. Let's take a look at one of the options that I was trading. So if we go to April, okay, April 10 puts, which of course are blocked by me. So let me move myself over here. April 10 puts. I wish I could magnify this somehow. April 10 puts yesterday. The last. It's kind of hard to look at them because the stock the ETF has moved up $2.50. But essentially, take my word for it. The April 10 puts went out at somewhere around like 115 bid at 125 yesterday, and by this morning they were like 50-cent bid at 60 or 55.65. So they got cut in half. A lot of this stuff got cut in half. If we look at implied volatility here, I'm not totally convinced that this is really accurate, but anyway, let's look at the money implied volatility in April here according to this. So the April 15 strike, 133 vol. Now, I don't have it off the top of my head, but I think that was somewhere around 160, 170 vol before this happened. Let's look at out of the money calls. Like the April 45 calls are now 182 vol. I know those were over 200 vol yesterday at this point. So that's a big big move. These markets are really wide right now, obviously, so it's hard to kind of tell, but everything got crushed, and we had no warning ahead of time. And according to the VIX group that I have been hanging out in lately, we really don't have much recourse because there's some legalese, of course, in the prospectus that says like they can do whatever they want, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I just want to thank the guy who wrote on this here because I do appreciate people contributing to this this chat. So let me see if I can find him here. Okay, so I want to thank Thomas copies his name. He says that basically we have no real legal recourse. So, all right. From the prospectus, the sponsor has the right unilaterally to amend the trust agreement as it applies to the funds, provided that the shareholders have the right to vote only if expressly required under Delaware or federal law or rules or regulations of the exchange, or if submitted to the shareholders by the sponsor in its sole discretion. I don't know what any of that stuff means, but I'm told it means that we have no recourse. Once again, let me get my mug out of this so that you can see it. So yeah, so I'm told that we have like no recourse. And I really don't know why they did it with 1 day to go. Like I said, I think it's like a Congress thing, but it really just hoses a lot of people. So let's go to some of the media because I found a real snarky covering of this in the media. Okay, so here's this from dealbreaker.com. Proshares to castrate legless survivor of short vol blowup from Heisenberg. Now, Heisenberg is a guy who's also on Seeking Alpha all the time and always has snarky things to say and is Mr. Cool. But, you know, if you're that cool, why are you hide behind some pseudonym? Why are you afraid to give your real name? Anyway, and of course they're attacking Seth Golden because everybody thinks it's so funny that somebody who worked at Target made money in the market. Like, you know, like everybody on Wall Street is like, oh, you know, it's so crass to actually have a real job, you know. Can't believe he was working, you know, actually working a job in a store and then had the audacity to think that he could trade with like the, you know, the pros up in Wall Street. So this article, he just he seems to love the guys from New York Times. He says it's like your long guy decided to ditch the, I don't even know how to say it, for a career building space shuttles in his garage. So this guy is basically saying, I told you so. You know, everybody who shorts vol is an idiot. And it's so funny that all these retail people lost all this money. And, you know, everybody is an idiot. Doesn't really say what he actually, like I said, it doesn't really say, he gives no, like, alternative investment or any actual advice on investing. He just says that everybody's an idiot. And then he attacks Proshares and says they're idiots too. So this kind of articles sheds no light whatsoever on the situation. And let's look at the VMIN letter in contrast. Let's see what VMIN did, because Proshares also changed their product this week. It's been an exciting week, folks. It's actually been it's been a bad month for VIX trading, I'll tell you. And this month is just ending on, you know, it started on the sour note of February 5th, and it's ending on a sour note now. So, but let's take a look at Rex funds here. So what VMIN did is they moved their duration way farther out. It's kind of ironic because their whole like motto was duration matters, and then then they like changed duration. Anyway, so VMIN has moved their duration out to be more of like a ZIV now. And so that's cool. I'm gonna find the actual notice here. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, VMIN changed their fund, but they actually gave, you know, ample time for people to get ready and did it the right way, as opposed to Proshares, which, I mean, you know, it's been a hard enough month already, and then Proshares just comes in and just gives a present to everybody who is long any Vega is just completely hosed. So thank you, Proshares. You know, it's what a shady company. In a way, I'm happy that I don't work for any company, because I can be honest without some company saying, "Oh, you can't say that," to all these, you know, wonderful Wall Street companies. Yeah, just shady. Okay. So I'm just finding the VMIN thing. Um, hmm. Let's see, what day was it on? Anyway, I'll find it in a little bit. But VMIN basically is moving their duration out, and I think it would be a good alternative to check out VMIN for people because they do have options on VMIN, and it is possible to trade them, and they are moving the duration out a little bit. This is not the end of the world for UVXY, folks. It still is a time and a half leverage, 1.5 times leverage. It's still, contango. When we're in contango, it's still going to affect it just as, contango is still there and affecting it. Yeah, the numbers are a little bit less. There's a little bit less risk and a little bit less reward, and that's just the way it is, and it's just something we have to live with. Life is changing. Sorry, that's life. But we just kind of got the double whammy today because VIX up. I'm short deltas and long premium. VIX is up and premium got schmundered. So not a great P&L day for me. I know a lot of people are frustrated. Even if there was a great lawsuit case, it doesn't mean that, okay, so what, you're going to get your money back in 5 years or something? It doesn't really do a whole lot for us right now. But a real bummer all the way around. I still have I'm just holding on to my short position. I am long a spread. I'm long the 20 April 13.10 spread, and we almost hit the 13 strike yesterday, and I still have 52 days to go, so I can live with that. I know people are pissed off. I'm pissed off. Boycott Proshares. This is a scummy thing to do. UVXY was like my favorite trading vehicle, and now it's just getting, it's less good, and I guess it's one of these cases where the public cannot be trusted to make its own decisions, and so we're gonna have to make it for them. They've increased the margin requirements. They chopped the juice out of this trading vehicle. I had no complaint on February 5th when volatility exploded and I lost money because I knew the rules, I knew the game, and I made a bet. But in this case, someone just changed the rules on us right in front of us with no timing. Just said one day, oh, by the way, what you're trading is something completely different. The thing that you have options on that aren't expiring for 52 days is something completely different. And now, we did have a clue to this, and that was, of course, the swaps. And I addressed the swaps a couple times, trying to figure out what it meant, and I guess wrong in the end. That was the clue, was the swaps, because it's hard to orchestrate just with futures. It would have been hard to orchestrate. It would have been very destabilizing for the market if they had to I don't know how destabilizing. It would have been slightly destabilizing for the market, though. How about this? It wouldn't have... actually, I don't know 100% for certain why using the swaps is better. I think it's because it was cheaper for them, but it also allows them to orchestrate this thing with less destabilization of the market. So, for example... the swaps could already have had priced into them when they made the deal with the swap people that this was going to happen on this day, and so they were hedging and adjusting the fund. Was a known event ahead of time for these guys who had laid off the risk, and so it was probably less destabilizing to do that this way. Let's take a look, just out of curiosity, to see what the composition is right today of UVXY. All right, so it's still a bunch of swaps. There's Deutsche Bank swaps, Goldman Sachs. No, that's not swaps. Deutsche Bank, Societe Generale. And the objective changes. Now, I don't know how you can, just because you put in the prospectus, we can change things when we want to. Changing the fund's objective with 1 day notice, so shady. I mean, Proshares, shady, shady, shady company, okay? I'm sorry if, I guess I cannot expect to not have the CEO of Proshares pick up the phone when I ask for an interview, but come on, man. People, you make this product for traders, and then you hose all the traders on it. Come on, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Anyway, that is it's my rant for right now. So let's take a look at the chat here. Okay, Justin McCarthy sounds familiar. That's a name I know. Ron Turkey, do I really think the SIBO is innocent? No. But I don't think it's the SIBO's decision. Why wouldn't you all just trade VXX puts versus SVXY calls? It's not the same thing. Whatever, I'm not complaining, says Abracadabra. I can't keep track of all the chat. Anyways, I'm pissed. Thanks you guys for watching, and you know what? We move on. This is like a risky business we're in. It sucks if you're long premium, but I guess we move on. Just crazy. I like someone from Proshares to come and explain what they're doing. What does the SIBO stock do tomorrow? I mean, nothing's going to change as far as the underlying and the way the formula for the underlying is going to change, but you're not going to see like some gap move or something. Yeah, we can sue. That's true. Scale private, but the thing is like, realistically, the money's gone from my account right now. If we successfully sue, all right, well maybe I'll get it back in 3 years, right? And sure, yeah, let's sue. That's fine. Sounds great. I was telling a story before. I was trading in a stock, and it had like the options volume was about 150 contracts per day. Real slow, a liquid stock. And Goldman Sachs trader comes in, and he wants to buy 5,000 puts. Okay. And, I didn't sell him 5,000 puts, but I sold him some puts. I sold him like 150, 200 puts. And yeah, I did hedge them. I sold stock against the puts that I sold to hedge them delta neutral. But still, like the next day or 2 days later, the thing just tanked to like almost zero. And obviously, the Goldman Sachs guy knew something. And so I went and I talked to the CEO of the exchange. He came, he put his arm around my shoulder, and he said, David, I'm going to see to it personally that this is that these guys are investigated and prosecuted to the fullest. But you know what? Goldman Sachs is like the SIBO's biggest customer, and all these guys, the Proshares probably has like lobbyists in Congress and stuff like that. I mean, they're not concerned with, and you know what? The whole picture painted of like people shorting the VIX as being idiots, and in the media, like, oh, they should have known better. All that bad press for our industry, it doesn't help us when the court case comes around. It doesn't. And yeah, sure, sue. That sounds great, but I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you, just being realistic. And that's just the way it is. And, you know, these Heisenberg guy, whatever, man, you know, yeah, I got to take risk. And I mean, when you take risks, sometimes it goes against you. I'm sure in that guy's mind, like, he's never made a losing trade, but whatever. It's been a tough month. We're getting out of the month soon. Shortest month of the year, but real tough month for trading. Real tough month for the VIX, but we survived it, and we will move on from here, and we'll see what shakes out next. I mean, you know, there is volatility risk in the market, and it has to disperse somehow. And if you remove liquidity by getting rid of all these products, that removes liquidity and it destabilizes things. And, you know, it could result in higher volatility overall because there's less opportunity for people to take this risk. And, you know, when somebody like Jim Cramer or, you know, it's one thing when you say, well, Joe Public Retail doesn't know what he's doing and he steps into this and gets run over, and that's not right. Now, you know, I agree with that in a sense that, like, people need to be educated, but when you have professional traders who know what risk they're taking and they're willing to take that risk by shorting stuff, and you make it more difficult to take the risk, that you know, the volatility is still there whether they have a product for it or not. It's still there, and if it's not being laid off to us, it's, you know, it's destabilizing the market in some other way. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the VIX moves higher just based on the fact that these products are fewer and farther between now, because it provides less, you know, dispersion of the risk, of the volatility risk that's inherent to the market. We didn't create the volatility risk. It was there the whole time. This is just sort of a release valve for it that's being gotten rid of. You can't get rid of volatility by getting rid of a couple products. It's not the way it works. Volatility is part of the system. So this should, you know, it will create new opportunities. Like Justin always talks about, you can replicate any of these things yourself using options, and you know, you can trade something like, you could pick the S&P and just sell premium in that, or you could pick a higher vol stock as a proxy for it, or a couple of them, and do a basket of strangles in different stocks that represent the S&P. There's plenty of ways to sell volatility. These prepackaged products, we don't need those to sell volatility. It was just an easy way to do it, and some of us got set in our ways of how we were doing it, and it had sort of gotten a technique of doing things, and, you know, now it changes again. But the volatility didn't go anywhere. It's all still right there. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I really appreciate all the support, and I will see you next time. Let's take a look at my my new spokesperson one more time, because I like to watch her video here. So let me see if I can find her one last time. Ready?